I am so excited about this edition of the Kit Room. Over the last 6 months, we've had manufacturers big and small visit us here in our training centre in Blackpool in the northwest of England. But today, we have the daddy of them all, Petzl. And joining me in the studio, we have Adam and Scott. Run titles. Scott, it's a great pleasure to have you here at the REAX Kit Room. Thanks for coming down with the team from Petzl, and it's a real pleasure to have you here.
No, we really appreciate the invite. Well, I'm looking forward to the day we can spend together and what we can kind of do, the scenarios and the bits that we've got planned to kind of go through some of the stuff we brought with us today.
Yeah, narrowing down the vast array of kit and equipment that you have at Petzl has been really difficult. So we're doing something a bit different today. We're going to actually put 3 or 4 pieces of kit through their paces in scenario-based situations.
Yeah, so just through our discussions, kind of leading up to this, we thought we've got some exciting newer bits kind of coming into the rescue kind of space for us, and some kind of long-established bits that was really worthwhile kind of going through. So we've got the Nest litter with us, we've got kind of Maestro's IDs, Jag rescue kits. So we're going to actually run some real scenarios about how to use them in the various kind of spaces that you've got around this great training facility.
That's fantastic. Before we get going with all the scenarios though, tell us about Petzl. For those that don't know, give us a little bit of the history. How did it start?
Yeah, so it's still a really interesting company. So it's still family owned, approaching kind of 50 years in kind of lifespan from it. The great thing about it is we're actually, the third generation is kind of coming through. So Paul Petzl has kind of been with the driving force for the kind of company for a long period of time, and his sons are stepping up, very much kind of coming into the fore. They've spent a long time working within the company, and it's a really inclusive kind of being a family company. We're very much kind of part of a European and global network that kind of exists for Petzl to kind of actually go and work together, work on different scenarios, and work on the development of what's still an incredibly passionate kind of family and history for the brand.
Brilliant. And you yourself have been with Petzl some time now.
Yeah, so I'm within the kind of UK business and what's going on, I'm over 15 years kind of working with Petzl in the UK now. So over that time, it's been a huge privilege. I've had the kind of experience of being some of the biggest oil company headquarters in Aberdeen, all the way kind of down to the Royal Opera House in London, through to kind of like our arbours and work, confined space, rescue. We cover so many different communities, and it's been an amazing journey to be part of.
And that's really one of the things, isn't it? Whenever I recently switched my TV on and there were some celebrities learning to walk tightrope, they're all in Petzl gear, aren't they? So, I mean, wherever you go, whatever industry or whatever scenario, Petzl seems to be the go-to name. What would be the focus for Petzl moving forward at the moment?
So kind of looking for the future, and the bit that's kind of always kind of driven the company is they've kind of come from a caving and exploring background. So they are kind of like by nature kind of exploring. They're looking for ways to make things more ergonomic, more efficient, more kind of comfortable for the user. All of those contact points on all of our bits of kit have been kind of like thoroughly tested, thoroughly worked out, and it's about that efficiency and ergonomics. We've got users that have kind of been in the field with us for 20, 30 years doing kind of like working height or rope access, and that ergonomics makes a really, really big difference.
Well, that's fantastic. My appetite is chomping to get going with some of this equipment. I think the first thing you've brought in is the Nest. So you're talking about that caving background. You've had the Nest before, but you've done some upgrades to it. Why don't we take a look in a little bit more detail? One of the things, as you know, regular viewers of the Kit Room, we love to do is bring you innovations, new bits of kit, updated bits of kit. And Scott, you've brought the Nest in for us today. Could you just explain what the Nest is and how you've updated it?
Yeah, so the Nest is our kind of like evacuation kind of like system that we've got. So it's actually a piece of PPE. It's actually not a medical device. So we've actually got a fully integrated harness. We've got really kind of innovative color-coded ways of being able to kind of like make it super simple to actually kind of care for the casualty. And then we've actually got, as we'll kind of go through when we start rigging it up, a really innovative way of actually kind of like how we then load the harness, transport it, and kind of doing things. So it's a really, really big multi-use harness for everything from kind of caving and urban search and rescue, all the way to kind of confined space, restricted access. It's a real kind of like multi-tool within that rescue space of how we can kind of make it work.
One of the things I noticed about this updated version of the Nest is the individual foot straps. Can you talk us through those?
Yeah, certainly. So what we've got is around the stirrups at the bottom, we've got that ability to isolate each foot. So if we're dealing with a casualty that's got a leg injury. So the kind of two boots, the two stirrups are actually designed to actually give an isolation. So as I go vertical, I can stand and put pressure on one foot comfortably and actually have the second one isolated, not actually getting any pressure on it. So as I'm on maybe a difficult extraction, kind of coming out from horizontal to vertical to kind of do different things, if we're kind of in that urban search and rescue, caving, like maybe on a boat or in a really difficult kind of confined space, actually we can kind of save that kind of discomfort on the casualty and kind of make it as comfortable for them as possible.
Yeah, and it's great that you can get that alternate. I guess if you've got a damaged leg, then you can give someone the ability to give strength to the undamaged leg as well. Brilliant. Yeah. And at the other end of the Nest, we've got this innovative way of securing the helmet in the head area.
Yeah, so what we've kind of got is around the kind of top here, we've got a reinforced steel bar around here. So it means that our rigging kind of stays away from our face to kind of do that. But we want a helmet on, we want kind of some face protection, but we won't be able to kind of communicate with them. But what we want to be able to do is actually just through three really simple straps here with the helmet in place, I can actually tighten up around the helmet, making the head relatively secure. Again, it's not spinal, it's not kind of doing anything, but I've just tightened down 3 straps here around the helmet. It's gripping the helmet really well to actually give us a bit of security around the face and around what's kind of going on.
And I'm guessing that it makes the casualty feel more secure, which might lead to the casualty being calmer.
Yeah.
As well as you continue the rescue.
Yeah, and being able to do that. And there's still enough space around the neck anyway, kind of what's going on, that you could put a collar on if that was what was required within that space. So we've kind of got that bit of kind of double bit. I can kind of keep the head stabilised kind of via the helmet, which gives a really good fit and security around the head, but then actually kind of do other medical things in that same space as well.
Brilliant. Scott, I understand there's an update to the buckle system as well on the Nest. Can you talk us through it?
Yeah, certainly. So what we've tried to do is we've got really nice colour coding in between what we're actually going to do for different sides of the body for what's kind of going on, but we've updated to our LT fast kind of buckles as well. So these are really nice innovative buckles. So we've got a triple action. So I've got cover on the outside, bring that back, press the buckle in, it locks over, and then that's single pull adjustment just to kind of get that tensioned up on there. So it just kind of makes it a really simple way to kind of adjust and lock in what's going on. So we've got one blue kind of coming on one side, yellow coming on the other, so kind of making that simplicity. So quite often we may be in stressful situations, obviously we're in a rescue, so we can kind of go right blue to blue, yellow to yellow. So we've got a really secure cross over the chest, and then coming out from between the crotch, again colour coded, to give us that full body kind of harness feel, yellow to yellow, lock that in, adjust, and there we are. So this gives, when you are in that vertical hanging position within this harness, you actually do feel properly secured and locked in place. So there we go. So we've got a really nice body wrap on there, kind of giving us a lot of security, still leaving the arms kind of exposed so we can actually still move if that's where we are. We can maybe, but what we tend to do is we wrap them up completely, and then just a couple of, just to help stabilize the legs and kind of make it easier, just a couple of Velcro straps over the thighs, over the lower leg, and then effectively that's our casualty completely wrapped up now. Now, because we do get a lot of exposure, we are in lots of different environments, we can actually kind of bring a little hood over the bottom, lock that in our feet. So if we are kind of like in those situations, we are dealing with water, we're dealing with wet stuff, we've kind of got that kind of in, and then a really secure, like weather tight wrap coming over the top. So we've got multi-ways just to kind of make sure that the casualty is warm, cared for. We can still kind of speak to them, we can talk to them, we can check their airways, their pulse and things like that, but actually they are properly secured into what might be a really kind of complex rescue for what's going on. And then they're going to be, so underneath them on the upper part of the torso as well, there is a bit of foam underneath their body. So just kind of like maybe cut out a bit of that kind of cold feeling that's there. They've actually just got that bit of foam just to give them some warmth, kind of give them a bit of security there. And then what we can see is we're kind of getting to this point here. We'll see these white loops on the outside. These are our grab handles. So we've actually got 8 handles on this. So when we're in the situation of actually kind of needing to manhandle this a little bit and maneuver it through something, we can get multiple bodies on it. We can kind of make that really easy. And then the big thing that kind of makes this Nest a really kind of standout piece within kind of like the world of restricted access stretchers is the way that our lifting bridle works. So I'm just kind of attaching the Steph onto the system here. So again, we've got grey to grey. So colour coding here to kind of make that as easy as we can. Coming up to the top. As I said at the beginning, we've got a reinforced loop across the top. We can kind of bring this in, and then this gives us a really nice, clean attachment point for kind of doing our rigging off of.
Fantastic.
And then we can lock that in to stay horizontal, or on the situation I can unlock that and it allows it to slide up to go into a vertical. So a super simple way of actually rigging and being able to transfer from horizontal, best for the casualty, through into vertical where we kind of need that capacity.
Brilliant. Well, we've got our casualty all wrapped up here, and Adam has been rigging up a rescue for us. So we're going to go and see the Nest. And what a great apt name for this particular piece of kit. We're going to see the Nest in action now. I've been joined by Adam, part of the team at Petzl, and Scott and Adam have rigged up this rescue. We've got our a 2-route rescue system going on with our casualty all set, primed, ready to do the final part of the extraction. Scott, talk us through the rig that you've set up here and the various bits of kit that you've used.
Yeah, so first and foremost, we've kind of put 2 different colour lines in, so it gives us a really good communication point as to kind of what one we need tension on at different points, because obviously as we're pulling out of a space like this, we do actually maybe need to pull things in slightly different ways to be able to kind of make it as best as we can kind of with the casualty. So the colour coding just gives us really good kind of setup for this. We've got the orange line kind of coming in straight to the headpiece, coming through on the primary bit, so that's mainly giving us, and that's on this lower kind of pulley here, that we've actually got the twin release above it. So we've got some really fine adjustment as to kind of like, do we want this to make sure that we're not getting into edge management situations? We're pulling it out well, but then it gives us that ability to lift it up or down a little bit, depending on how the casualty is.
So we're getting that angle of ascent.
So from the white rope here, we can actually make that go up and down as well. Our blue line just coming up straight through a pulley to kind of do that. So the pulley that we've got on the blue line is actually one of our one-directional kind of pulleys. So what we've got on here is we've actually got a ratchet system in it. So you'll see here, if I kind of, so in here, a nice clicking ratchet on there. So I've got all the efficiency on a pull one direction, but then if I need to lower off of that, the pulley kind of stops and blocks, and actually it gives me more friction for more control on a lower.
So just like my ratchet screwdriver at home.
Exactly. It's the exact same principle. The pulley itself has some little facets on it that adds a bit more friction and actually gives us that one directionality to it, which gives us really good control kind of options.
Okay.
Coming down on the lines, we've actually got our rescue senders with roll clips kind of clipped in place. That just gives us a really simple 3-to-1. Coming off of the back where we've got twin Maestros kind of on a ground anchor, they are kind of progress capture. So they've got a nice big pulley in them.
Okay.
Again,
the ground Maestros down here.
Yeah, so the Maestro's down there. Again, we've got this one directional kind of system in here. So we've got a really big pulley sheave with this one directionality in it. So if I kind of go, if I pull in here, you'll hear that nice kind of ratchet clicking again. So we've got that. So as I'm pulling in, I've got all the efficiency of a free running pulley. But as I begin to lower, actually I've got that greater friction, that more control to actually give me much more control.
Fantastic. Well, let's get this guy out. Time for me to get out of the way. We're going to get our casualty out, the final part of this rescue. And there's something we're going to need to do here where we're going to change the tension in the lines as well. You just want to talk us through that before we do it? Yeah,
so as we're kind of transitioning out, the way we've got the different pools kind of in place, we're going to use the orange line primarily on the first bit to kind of bring it out. But then what we'll do is actually we'll engage in the blue one once we kind of get to a point to give us that point where actually it's going to be held in a flat position. So we've got the Steph bridle set up to actually give us a horizontal position on there. And as we kind of bring it out, we'll just be able to engage that to kind of keep the casualty in a nice flat position.
It's just going to stop that pop effect as they come out of the...
It's just going to be able to pull between the different lines.
All right, let's give it a go.
So take in on orange, we get the nice and flat from on the inside. So taking in on orange.
Okay, we're gonna be...
Yep. Give me 1 second while I do a quick reset. Again, taking in on both. Right, bringing in on blue primarily now. And then we've got our casualty in a nice flat position for kind of what's going on. So what we'll do now is we'll just release our blue line down, and I'm working the twin release to be able to get the casualty down to the ground nice and flat. So releasing on blue line. Just nice and controlled, ready for going to the next station. We're set up here just to kind of go through how we can kind of transfer our nest from being in a horizontal position, we've got the staff in place, into vertical, and then kind of being able to bring it back up. So through the way the rigging we've got kind of coming into the plate, we've got our backup to our head point, everything else is on our primary connection on the staff. And then what we've got is I can very, very simply just disconnect our connector here, and then very easily tension on the backup line, get my casualty into a vertical situation where I can very easily kind of come up through a restricted access point. And then what we can do is very quickly and very easily, just with a little bit of assistance, bring our casualty back up into horizontal position.
REAX is based in Blackpool in the northwest of England, so we're better to test the roller coaster edge protector. As well as that, we're going to look at a JAG rescue kit as well. So Scott's up there, we've got our scenario where our friend has fallen from height and is suspended. We need to rescue him. Over to you, Scott, what would we do?
So thanks. So what we've got up here is I've come in a situation. I'm going to stay in a really, really safe situation to perform this rescue. I've got the JAG rescue kit waiting to be deployed, but I've pre-installed, because I can see what's happening, the roller coaster to give my rope a really smooth run over the edge here to make sure we're not going to get snagged up or cause any damage to our rescue line. So I'm going to open up our rescue kit. Pre-rigged, so I've got an anchor straight away, so I'm going to select my anchor. It's going to line up perfectly with kind of coming straight into my roller coaster. We've got our rescue kit here. So we've got our JAG hauling system, which allows me to create some slack in the system to get my casualty free. And then I've got my ID evac rope kind of on here, and I've got a rescue sender, and I'm going to use that to kind of go down on the shock absorbing lanyard, lift that up, it's going to grab it, and I'm going to be able to kind of perform that rescue. And I get to do all of that from a relatively safe space up here. So I'm going to pay out rope. So I'm going to pay out lots of extra rope to kind of begin with. Install onto the lanyard, get that secured in place, send that down as far as we can, take the slack back in on my ID, allowing my system here the greatest chance of success. And then very simply now just lift up steadily on my JAG system. creating slack in the system. So now I can actually release my casualties lanyards. My casualty is now free of their system, and then I can very simply control from my ID, do a nice controlled lower, straight down to the crowd.
Brilliant.
All done.
Thanks, Scott. So there you have it. The roller coaster combined with the Jag rescue kit, making it a nice, safe, easy rescue where you can be isolated from the casualty and bring them to the ground. All this kit is available on our website on www.reaxltd.com. All that remains is for me to say thank you to my guest, Scott, and to Adam, who helped set up all the rescue scenarios. If you've liked the Petzl equipment that we've shown today, you can find it at our website at www.reaxltd.com, where you can also find a vast range of other Petzl equipment also. If you've liked today's episode, why not click like, or maybe forward a link to anyone else that you think would enjoy it also. I look forward to seeing you again on another edition of The Kit Room.